kids cardiac. Catch me in the Muni where the party at. Dog pound, turn up with the elf up on my starter cap. Brought him back, boy, we from the land and we proud of that. Louder man, front to the back, here we go, I got him shouting that. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Game on the line, Joe Thomas, I promise. Jim Brown running through opponents, how I got this. I return like Josh Cripps, paying for the mini, got the dog pound jumping. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Stand up. Here we go, brownies. Let's go.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Mr. Hero's turning 60. We're proud to have served your favorite cravings for 60 years in celebrating what we do best. Thanks, Ohio.
I crave a hero.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm Allie Ellery, coming to you live from Pensacola, Florida. Join with me as always. We've got Dustin in Cleveland. Guys, if you haven't already, please download the Mr. Hero app. You can get buy one, get one offers just for signing up. You can build rewards points. You can order food within the app. Really, really cool. So please be sure to check out our friends over at Mr. Hero. Dustin, how's it going?
Good. Had more snow. Shocker. Imagine that. Now it's a little warmer. It melted, so I'm happy. This of all the years, I can't wait for spring to finally say it's here. But you know this, living in Ohio, it can literally be 30 degrees one day, 50 the next, 30, and then 70, all in 1 week. It is a little, Ohio weather is like no other place in the world. But
that's true. That's true. Yes, and it can be quite a headache, literally and figuratively, with the change in weather, messes with you. It's a whole thing. I feel for you. Sorry, I got the dogs.
Birdie feels for me. Love
it. It is so hard. I know I've talked about this before, but without having like a dedicated studio space, working from home, the dogs are always going crazy. UPS shows up, and it is actually like clockwork. As soon as I either get on the pipe or on a call, they start making noise like clockwork. Prior, nothing. After, nothing. During, go ballistic.
Yeah, and we're, our full-time gig is sales. And so, like that's the last thing you want is like you're 30 seconds into a call and like,
I actually typically for my calls, I will go outside and take them because.
Well, see, that is convenient when you live in Florida versus.
But thanks everybody for tuning in. It's officially the off season, right? We're looking ahead to the combine here. We don't have a ton to go over. We're going to go over the press availability from Andrew Berry and Todd Mackin at the combine. Excited to kind of dissect some of those things and look ahead to a draft where you hold 2 first-round picks. That's always exciting. That's a fun time to be a fan. This is where we're just going to have fun on some of these shows. And frankly, some of these shows may not be as long as our usual ones, right? When there's not a ton to talk about. You don't want to just, sit here and listen to Dustin and I just go back and forth about nothing. So if we run out of topics, we're a little early, we're going to wrap it up. So we do appreciate you for tuning in, and let's just jump into it, Dustin. Let's get started with the press availability and what we learned. Again, with both parties, we'll start with the quarterback position, pretty non-committal. And again, I don't think there's any huge shock there. They both talked about Shedeur Sanders and his ability to make plays and, at this current juncture, probably leading the way to be the week 1 starter, but also said that they'll look externally and even talked about Dylan Gabriel in some facets. So I'm not going to be surprised. I think they're obviously going to bring somebody else in to compete for that starting quarterback job. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be some kind of competition unless they go out and they take another huge swing. But whether that is, a free agent, like somebody like Malik Willis, where they have to pay him $30 million to come here, obviously he's probably going to be the starter. But otherwise, if it's just another vet, another kind of bridge, it's going to be competition between that person and the quarterbacks on this roster. And that includes Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. So non-committal. And I don't think that's a huge surprise, right?
Yeah, it was really interesting. So you know, what I love about Todd Monken is kind of what you see is what you. I mean, he isn't going to give you lip service. I mean, we've learned that already from Todd Monken as our new head coach. I think it's kind of refreshing. I kind of like it, to be quite honest with you. And I really do believe when he says, "Look," and I understand where he's coming from a coaching perspective. Obviously, Andrew Berry, in his press availability, leaned in that we're going to be probably heavy offensive oriented. He also brought up if the opportunity to trade down was well worth it, he would do it. That's not shocking at all because he values assets and value when he's looking at a draft. And he brought up that open competition for quarterback. And I thought that was interesting, talking about all the people on the roster, including Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. And I really do like where Todd Monken went with this. He goes, look, I don't get to really decide who the quarterback is on this team. The players get to decide who the quarterback ends up being the starter. And I thought that was really refreshing because he mentioned, I've seen elite playmaking ability from Shedeur Sanders. We saw it on tape. We saw it last year, all those things. But he goes, at the end of the day, they're all competitors, right? And you go out for training camp, and if there's a guy, say it be Deshaun Watson, is all of a sudden starting to pull away in that competition, and he is the best guy on your team week one to have you win games. And, oh, by the way, you are paying him nearly $50 million on top of that. So it's like, from a coaching standpoint, he's going to be like, well, look, clearly he's out playing everybody, right? And maybe that's Shedeur Sanders. To your point, that could be some free agent that they bring off. So once they're all in the room, it's fair game, right? Like whoever, I always say when cream rises to the top, that's who's going to be your quarterback, right? And I think even to the public, no matter how we feel about any of these quarterbacks, it'll be pretty evident, deep into training camp, who's going to be the starter. Now, what'll be interesting, and I don't think Todd Monken is that kind of guy, but I don't want to get into this, well, this person didn't get enough reps or that person didn't get enough reps. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, that's a problem, right? In a lot of ways, because you're setting one guy up for failure or success in one way or the other. So I think that what
happened last year and was just a shit show, right? Like
right.
the whole.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't think Todd runs operations like that. He's gonna be like, look, I'm gonna give that guy more opportunities because he's jumping off the page. He gets more reps this week. Oh, and by the way, next week, but now it's even. So now they get I think Todd's gonna just let it play out, and I like that, where there's no favorites going in. And by the way, he shouldn't have any favorites. He's a new head coach, and by the way, he was hired to win games, right? So at the end of the day, he's going to try to put the best players on the field, scheme them to their talent level, and try to put the best product on offense that he possibly can.
Well, you even said that basically understanding that there is going to be some type of competition, if you will, but going into OTA's training camp, really being able to identify who that player is most likely going to be so they can get those reps. Reps are so important. And we saw where you had just, we had several different guys starting at quarterback at several different points during the season, and just the lack of chemistry and the lack of experience for these two young guys. And I just, looking back, I hated the plan. I hated the plan all along of what they did this past year. And I hated the way that they didn't address the offensive line. And now we've got this huge hole at both, for the entire core of the offense, right? And it starts and ends with that offensive line. And if they don't go out and they're not aggressive, it's going to be a pretty tough year to watch.
As I said, just to add to your point there, that was one thing that was brought up at the press conference, availability, was Joel Petonio. Yeah. And Todd Monken goes, I've talked to him, I've met with him. I told him I wanted him back, but I didn't press it because he wasn't there yet. And I was like, you know what? That's probably because you don't want a guy coming back that's 80% or 70%. You want him to be 110% if he's really going to come back for another year. But man, oh man, could we use a nice Joel Petonio over there to surrounded by some rookies to actually kind of almost be a coach himself, quasi coach, and helping these young guys come in the league if we end up with some of these guys being rookies. So I think he could bring a lot of value. It's just coming back from a coaching standpoint and stability, both, just because of who he is and what he is. So
yeah, it's it's going to be a total revamp, right? And to be able to have somebody that understands one, just experience, right? Has done it at such a high level for so long. Obviously, he's not worked with Todd Monken previously, but kind of understands what he wants to do. And Todd Monken even said in his conference today about, how kind of just pounding the table about the importance of taking offensive line in this draft or free agency or trade, whatever it may be, but the priority at that focus. Because right now it is just pretty bleak. And I know that's not exactly the sexiest position for fans, right? When you have 2 first-round picks going into a draft, you're like, oh, hell yeah, let's talk offensive line. I know that's not like as flashy as a receiver, which is also a huge area of need. We'll talk about that, but it's important to what they want to do. Highlight this.
Yeah, as I say, let's be honest though. Joe Thomas wasn't a flashy position, but boy, did he solidify us for a decade.
100%. So yes, it's so important. And I think in a fairly heavy tackle draft, I mean, we'll talk about
it
actually is. I think that's sure. You've got 2 first-round picks. Let's make something happen to where we can bolster this line for the future. Because if you hit on Shedeur Sanders, guys, who was a 5th-round pick, my God, I mean, you are talking about a pretty affordable situation at that point. Obviously, having a 5th-round pick and then a couple of young guys on that offensive line. But I do want to highlight this. If Joel does come back, that would be huge. Let's hope Zinter and Whippler get right too. I'd like to go back, actually. Angel, I like that point. I'd like to go back, maybe on another show, maybe if we have time, we'll do it tonight, and look at Andrew Berry's drafts for both receivers and offensive linemen, because those are huge areas of need, and I feel that they have been huge areas of need, honestly, for the past 4 years. So, I guess that kind of begs the next question is, how much trust do we have in Andrew Berry to nail these picks? Because we know how important they are. This is a crucial year. This is a crucial draft. You have to hit these guys. You haven't had first-round picks. I mean, you did last year, but like previously with the Deshaun Watson trade, you missed out on so many first-round selections. Now that you have 2 of them, you really have to capitalize. And I agree. This is in my opinion, a pretty decent wide receiver class that is going to be pretty valuable in later rounds. I'm really with you here. I'm really with you here about drafting 2 offensive linemen. If they are there, right? If those players are there and it makes sense, I would not be surprised at all. Go ahead.
And I say, just getting back to the press availability and Andrew Berry, he brought up a really unique situation, like with the Chicago Bears, and how they're pretty young and they have 3 offensive young guys on their offensive line, and they're a playoff team, right? So what he was, I guess, trying to say is you don't have to be like super veteran heavy on an offensive line. Now you can't replace the entire line. That's kind of scary, and they're all 5 rookies out there. But what he brought up was you can have even a majority of those guys on your front and still be successful, and still give someone like Caleb Williams time to throw and be successful as a quarterback. So to your point, in my world, you go pick up a guy that's got really good value and upside in free agency. Joel Patonio comes back, and then you hit on a couple of guys in the draft. You're not sitting too pretty then. I mean, you're sitting pretty, you're sitting pretty good. Yeah.
The issue with that, though, is there's not a ton of those guys out there. Tackle is a lot like the position of quarterback, where it's pretty rare for these guys to hit free agency, for these top names to hit free agency. It's pretty rare because teams are either going to franchise tag them or trade them if it's not a good fit or for whatever reason. But they always make it to 2 or 3 contracts. So the idea of getting a guy, I'm just going to throw out a name. Obviously, he was traded last year, but like Laramie Tunsil, who's a premier tackle in the league, they often don't hit the market for you to go out and get a guy like that. So the recipe for rebuilding this offensive line, it's tough. That's why I'm saying this is such a crucial year in the draft, because you do have to hit. You mentioned the Bears. They kind of laid the framework for, how to go from really, really bad to pretty damn good. Now, the difference between what the Bears did in their kind of 1-year revamp, I won't say rebuild because it's not what it was, but like a revamp versus what the Browns are doing, is they had their quarterback. They had Caleb Williams, he was number 1 overall pick, and they bring in this insane offensive mind in Ben Johnson. And then all they had to do was just go spend money on well-known guys, and it worked. Like, they had that luxury. For the Browns, we are maybe a couple of steps behind that, where you've got an offensive mind at head coach, but he's a first-year head coach. We don't quite know exactly what this is going to look like. We think we like Shador, but we don't 100% know yet. So there's some differences, but I think that the recipe is there, where if you can hold on to Joel, that really, really helps. Then there's guys, like Elijah Berry Tucker. That interests me. There's a couple of those guys, former first-round picks, as he mentions, that Barry likes, those prove-it guys that can come in, second chance, if you will. But I think you are going to have to draft one or two tackles. It's just kind of the way it is, and
or not, and just be like the Cincinnati Bengals. No,
I don't want any part of it.
We can just be the Bengals and be like, hey, have a free-for-all, run around. Hopefully you survive.
Well, I just can't see a world where that would happen given this coaching staff, right? Yeah. I know you're just kidding. But you've got so many coaches that are offensive line guys. I think they were brought in to fix this situation. And
that starts with the first hire by Todd Monken with the offensive line coach. I mean, I feel a whole lot better sitting here today with a coach like that in place, with rookies or young guys coming in, because that guy's seen everything in the league when it comes to the offensive line. So that actually makes me feel a little better if we're having to put some rookies out there. But let's be honest, we sit here and we worry and we don't know what the offensive line, Mason Graham looked pretty damn good on the defensive side of the ball. There's a guy that we plugged in and thought, okay. And then as the season went on, he got better and better and better. And so, I just think you're right. Free agency is probably going to be a pretty bare cupboard when it comes to finding one of those coveted positions. But, Andrew's also pretty strategic. He's been open to trades, and he's been very aggressive with trades too. So that, you never know if there's
do it. It's just, I said, I don't doubt that he can do it. And it's not really a huge financial constraint. That's one thing he's really good at, is managing, the finances and what that looks like, and kind of kicking the can down the road for contracts. But it's identifying the talent that I'm like, that kind of gives me a little bit of pause. Or some, as we mentioned here, some of these second chance guys, and I think that's kind of a fair concern of whether or not he can get it right. But that's why you bring in the coaching staff that you do, so you can be equipped with the knowledge to make these decisions. So I thought it was a pretty refreshing press conference. As you mentioned, it was different than what we're used to. He's pretty blunt. He's pretty straightforward, and I'm excited about that. So we will turn it over here in a moment and talk more combine. We're going to bring David on and talk about some of our top guys at each position of need. Before we do that, Dustin, you mentioned our good friends over at Primetime Sports. Why don't you tell our listeners what they got going on?
Yeah, guys, if you are doing or not doing anything this weekend and want to go have a unique opportunity to see, that's right, Chevy Chase, that's right, the living legend Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, which was his wife on National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. They will be down there Sunday at noon. Go check them out. And also March 21st, good friend of the program, Josh Cribbs will be down there doing a signing. So if you want to go down and check out Josh Cribbs, he'll be down there March 21st at prime time. So check him out.
Also, if you are in the market and you're looking to buy or sell a home, you need somebody that can point you in the right direction, give you that assistance. It's Crystal Jontoni from eXp Realty. You can give her a call, 216-215-6663, or at jontonisells@gmail.com. All right, let's bring David on and talk a little combine and pre-draft stuff. But before we do so, here's a quick word from our friends over at Lorello Vineyards.
Here we go, Brownies Nations. We are here with Larry Lorello at Huntington Field to talk about Here We Go Brownies wine and all the other amazing wines at Lorello Vineyards.
Yeah, I just want to tell all of you guys, it's harvest season right now. We just started with some of the whites, and reds will be coming in next. Stop out the winery, all the wineries out in Northeast Ohio, to check out all the harvest and what we're doing out there. Really good time right now.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Here we go.
Woof, 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 woof.
All right, let's bring him on, the husband of the program, Dr. David Ullery. Hi, David.
Hi, Allie. Hi, Dustin. What's going on?
Dr. David, how are you?
I'm great. Before we do anything else, how's the audio? Is there do you hear something crazy?
No, you sound like you're quiet.
Sound a lot better.
Yeah, and you're in a different room tonight too.
The AirPods. It's got to be the AirPods.
Got to be the AirPods.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
nervous because I got like the pool pumps running right now, so I was afraid that was going to be loud, but it sounds like we're okay.
No, can't hear anything other than your velvety voice. Sounds great.
I wish.
Oh, that's a highlight right there. Anyway.
All right. Let's get into it. I want to talk about the combine. Before we do that, I know that there was some things in the media this week about JOK. I want to talk about that. Mary Kay puts out that it's doubtful that he will return to football. And I don't think that's a huge surprise to many, many people. And then he makes a post and he didn't call her out or mention anything. He just said something about, I forget what he said, but like
I've basically been gone for a couple of days. Did I miss some news, basically?
Yeah, something like that. So I am not here to dispute what Mary Kay said because I still think it's quite likely. But so many people took that and ran with it and are calling her this liar and all of this. David, I want to get your perspective on this. Obviously, we don't know what JOK is going to do until we hear it from him, essentially. But based on what we know, can you give us your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hardest part is we don't know very much. We know what we know is he was injured against Baltimore in 2024 in like week 8, and he didn't return that season nor the entire 2025 season. And he never had surgery. So anytime you have an injury with no surgery or rehab or rehabilitation that requires that much time off, it's pretty concerning for it being a very serious injury that is going to be hard to recover from. So I mean, in the speculation that she presented, what we think is speculation, I don't think she's that far off just based on kind of the course that his path has taken since the injury. That being said, it doesn't really seem like there was any sort of direct sourcing or quoting of that from him or a physician treating him. And so I think that's where his response kind of came from. And again, I think at the end of the day, like he is a man who plays football, who loves the game and is obsessed with it and devoted to it. And so of course he's going to hold out any hope at all that he can still come back and play. That being said, like we've heard nothing of any efforts or attempts towards returning to practice, training, apart from, staying in shape as he can. But when it comes to contact and other things like that, we don't know if he's ever had any contact since the injury and if he ever will. And so I don't think it's foolish of her to say that because we were saying that all along the entire 2025 season. But it certainly was a opportunity to create some splash in a time when maybe it's not as exciting in the off season. But I mean, basically, like I said, we know ACLs or Achilles or even like, a spine fusion like Peyton had, like those take time to recover from 6, 9, 12 months. When you have an injury that didn't require surgery, so you're not really rehabbing it from a post-operative standpoint, it's a little more guarded in terms of like what that prognosis is going to end up being. Just because it's like, well, what are we waiting for? So again, it's tough because we're not in the business of speculating, but like I don't think it's super far fetched, like you said, Allie, that she might be correct in her assessment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And didn't Andrew Berry address this as well a little bit in the presser? So
he did. Yeah, he said basically that I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but essentially kind of the same thing. He's not overly optimistic, or he doesn't have a lot of optimism of him.
And that's coming from the GM.
Exactly.
I mean, to me, that's more than any reporter or anything. When your GM says, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Like that. I mean, to me, if he was excited and knew that he was coming back, he'd be like, hey, we're excited about his progress. He's making great strides, but when you get a non-commit from a GM, I think that kind of almost is the writing on the wall. Like we love him, but we don't see him coming back.
And I respect that, right? Because I would think that if there's no world where JOK can come back, but Andrew Berry's out here saying, well, we think he might, that would be pretty deflating to the player, right? You're giving him some kind of, I don't want to say false hope because obviously that's within he's got to have those conversations with his doctors. But, I think kind of speaking truthfully on the matter is respecting the player. And this is very similar to what we saw with Shazier, right? Where, the Steelers did right by him, and that was refreshing to see. So if unfortunately, if this is the case, I'm hopeful that the Browns would be able to navigate the situation in a similar manner. Go ahead, David. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was just say, so not only like respecting the player, but also respecting the team and the organization. I mean, look at what happened last season with Mike Hall.
Yeah.
It was week to week to week and never got placed on the IR when he absolutely could have been, because he was out for so long, and we could have filled that roster position for a month and a half. And so not only is it respectful to the player just to like not like drag him along, if you will, but also it gives them an opportunity to move forward as if he's not going to be a part of the team, so that they can address that position as they need to, replacing an all-pro linebacker, which obviously you cannot do, but you can at least, find a way to fill that need. And, they did somewhat with Carson, but, someone else who's a veteran that maybe needs to come in or just fill that role. So I think it goes both directions. And I completely agree with you. Like it's honest. It seems to be honest. It seems to be transparent. And we definitely deserve that as, people who are invested in this organization.
Yeah, we didn't get a lot of that last year or the year prior. So I can certainly respect how this is being communicated currently. So just taking a look at the combine, David, and then we'll get into players and how we think this might shake out for the Browns. But let's just kind of briefly talk about the medical situation at the combine. I know this is something that we talk about every year, but maybe just a quick refresher on, the medical and physical side of things at the combine, because that's really what is, I would say, partially the most important piece of the NFL combine.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we've touched on it before, but just as a refresher, like the combine kind of originally started as more of a medical evaluation than it was for anything else, because we have players who are coming from all walks of life who have played football for, 20 years, maybe not 20, 15, 16 years versus, guys who have played for only a year or two. And, injuries don't get disclosed, injuries don't turn up, and they comb through every single detail of these players' medical histories, both retrospectively as well as proactively. I mean, they're within the belly of Lucas Oil Stadium. They have scanners, they have CT scans and MRIs and everything available at their disposal. And every team's physician is there conducting interviews, conducting kind of evaluations and reviews of medical records to really get a feel for these players, not only athletically, but also medically and from a health standpoint, because injuries do pop up, findings kind of, appear that maybe we weren't aware of that can give a little bit of insight into what this player is going to look like. And if they're, I don't want to necessarily say injury prone, and there's been some talk about that lately of players not liking being designated as injury prone, because I mean, at the end of the day, they're playing a violent contact sport. Everyone's injury prone in that sense. And so it's more or less injury history. And we know as a medical community that certain injuries predispose you to further injuries, or maybe things wearing out further, cartilage, thinning out sooner than other things. And so it totally is a medical evaluation as much as it is a physical test and evaluation to determine if this player is a good, option to invest millions of dollars in to be on your roster. So it's pretty cool. It's still, I would love more public information about this, just from those within it, inside of the practice, just to kind of, give the public eye or the public followers like us more insight into it. But obviously there's HIPAA laws in place and other things in place that they can't maybe disclose all of those details. But we said it before last year, like when you are an NFL player looking to be in the public spotlight on TV 17 times a year at least, your right to privacy is unfortunately kind of removed a little bit.
Yeah, when you look at that and you talk about, I mean, these are NFL franchises investing a first-round pick, right? And we know how much is made if you miss or hit on a first-round pick. I wouldn't be surprised if they even go further than just injury-prone and look at the genetic makeups of their families, like, and what injuries their family had in sports and stuff like that. I could see them, like, even doing a deeper dive, like medically, like to your point, what they can because of HIPAA. But yeah, I mean, to your point, this is such a huge thing for organizations like the quarterback position. I mean, Mendoza. I mean, I can't imagine how much microscope is under someone like Mendoza, because that's a first round pick, the very first round pick. And oh, by the way, a year and a half ago, Mendoza wasn't on our board. Like, he wasn't on our board for our top 5 quarterbacks. And now he catapulted to the top, and a bunch of these other guys went away. So now you got another guy in there that now, like, okay, he wasn't on our radar 6, 8, 12 months ago. And now they have to look at everything about a quarterback like that. Because to me, like, that's, to your point.
Well, it's so fluid and ever evolving, and it's such a huge investment. Sometimes I feel like tonight, oh my God, David, what are we going to eat for dinner? What a big decision and investment that may be. But, that doesn't alter the course of our marriage, right? But when you look at making a first round on a quarterback or a tackle, it can, Dustin. It can absolutely alter, the trajectory of your franchise. And we have seen it how many times with this team, So it is so important to kind of do all of the digging that you can. And certainly I don't want to speculate on who we think is going to fall because of anything like that. We don't have that information yet. But we see it every year where somebody just randomly falls, or maybe somebody's medicals were so good and they kind of skyrocket. They kind of dominate the combine. So I'm curious to see what that looks like, because it happens every single year. And some of it just non-football related. I mean, I mentioned Laramie Tunsil earlier in the pod, but you remember his draft, a picture came out literally 20 minutes before the draft of him, smoking a bong. He had the mask on. It was just a horrible, and he drops drastically. And he's one of the best tackles in the league, right? And it's just crazy what can happen pre-draft and how important these meetings, conversations, and medicals are. So I'm excited to go ahead.
And I say, David, when it comes to dinner, this is a really easy one. You just ask Allie what she's craving, whatever that may be, Italian, Mexican, whatever food. And if she says it, you're like, you know what? That's what I was craving too. Done. Settled. You're all done.
Yeah. Tonight it's sushi. Is that what we're doing, David?
Yeah, we're doing sushi tonight.
Beautiful. Can't wait. So I want to get into our positions of need. And I think that, you could kind of make the argument that there's so many for this team, but really kind of the biggest areas, offensive line and specifically tackle. We can kick it inside as well. Offensive line, offensive tackle, and receiver. I think, can we agree, guys, that those are kind of like the biggest needs for this team? Outside of that, I think obviously we can talk linebacker, we can talk quarterback, even we can talk tight end, because we know right now David Njoku is not going to be with the team. So there are some like secondary and tertiary needs, but when we're looking at this for this exercise, let's kind of keep it for offensive line, receiver. And if you personally feel that there's another position that you are just pounding the table, like we've got to get this figured out, then by all means, let's bring it up. But I'd like to kind of start here with of need, and in my opinion, what I think the Browns are going to do with their first pick, if they stay at 6, right? All of this can change if they trade these picks away, but let's just say, assuming that they stay at 6, and of course keep their later first round pick, they go with a tackle. Let's kind of talk through who some of our favorites are at that situation, at that position. David, who is your favorite tackle right now in this draft? And you can, as we go through the conversation, we'll rattle off a couple of more names, but if you've got a guy that you're like, this is the guy.
Yeah. I mean, I apologize already because I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but for me, I think number one, and the one I would like to see, if he's there, is Francis Mauigoa. Mauigoa from Miami. I mean, Mario Cristobal came out and said that he was a foundational piece. He and Ruben Bain were the two players that set the tone, set the culture, the locker room. Like, they were the leaders, and they were the guys that they built this team around from, the time that they were young guys until now. So 3-4 years ago, and really kind of helped get this team to a national championship game this year. And so I just love the grit that he has, the energy that he has. He played over almost 3,000 snaps at right tackle. And, there's talk that he can, like most of these guys, could even slide into guard, but I think tackle is obviously where the attention is needed. And for me, he's, I think, the best tackle in this draft. And if he falls to 6, I think the Browns are going to be all over that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to also go with Francis Mauigoa. Also goes by CC, short for Francis.
Love that.
I really like this player for all of the reasons that you just mentioned. He's my number one tackle on the board. Again, you can make the argument maybe we'll slide him inside. It's really hard to tell pre-combine what their measurements are going to be, arm length to determine yet. So please, if you're listening to this after the combine, hasn't happened yet, so we don't have that information. But as it stands right here, right now, CC Mauigoa, he's my number one tackle in this class. You know what I really like about him? You mentioned it. He's a 3-year starter. I mean, he has played some football in the trenches. He's a captain. He's a leader. He's got a big frame. He's a big body. When you look at him, he certainly has a different body type and a different look to him than somebody like a DeJuan Jones. And I think he's certainly more athletic, in shape, ready to go, can be a day one starter, day one contributor. He's got a balanced, build, if you will. And I think that's going to fit very well for what Todd Monken wants to do. I mean, Todd Monken even said in his press conference today, he wants tackles, guards that can push, they can pull, they can just win, at the point of attack, essentially. So I really like CC Mauigoa. There's a couple other names here that we'll get to, but Dustin, first I want to talk to you. Who's your guy?
Yeah, I mean, I again, if he slides down, he's the premier offensive tackle in this draft, right? We know that. But knowing Andrew Berry, the phone's going to ring. And so for me, Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle out of Utah, might be one. Now, here's what intrigues me about all this. If we are sliding a little bit, right? Because Andrew Berry goes, okay, man, we got 24 already set in there, right? And possibly if somebody really wants that, we may get another second round pick in 2026. So now you're setting it, 3 or 4 picks maybe in the top 60. Like the guy that I was looking at, back to a guy that can push people around, Caden Proctor, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. This man is 6'7", 366 pounds. That is a massive man. And when I think about protecting the quarterback, that's a lot of guy to move around that and by the way, he's played at Alabama, so he's played against high competition at a high level. I wouldn't, that might be a steal of a draft. We don't know, but that guy's big and massive. And when you're going up against some of these very physical defensive lines in the NFL, you can sell me on him.
Yeah. And listen, I don't want to play the game of we're going to trade and, maybe he'll be available. Just our top 3 or 4 at each position.
Yeah. And he's already in that top kind of 3, 4. So, I mean, as far as offensive.
So who's your number one then? But so let's just say all tackles are available.
Francis is number one. But I'm saying if he's there, obviously you got to take him, because if he slides to 6 and you're not trading out, you got to take him.
Yeah. All right, David,
sure.
what do you think? I mean, you got anything on that?
I mean, in terms of keeping, if Francis is there at 6, taking him, or just
sorry,
2 or 3.
I'm sorry. I just thought you could read my mind for a second. Dustin mentioned 2 other guys.
Yeah.
Who did you mention, Dustin? You mentioned Caden Proctor and
Fano from Utah, and Caden Proctor from Alabama.
What do you think, David?
So, I mean, it was funny you brought up Caden Proctor. Obviously, he's a top 5 tackle in this draft, and I love the guy. We've seen him get the ball on offense too, but I'm scarred from Jed. I just get nervous about that because Jed was supposed to be the next biggest thing out of Alabama, and look what happened. I think if let's just say, kind of looking at the draft board, and I know we're gonna do mocks and all that, but Caden Proctor, he might fall to. It depends on how things go, but if he's there at 24, I think you definitely take him. That's a huge value pick there. But I like Caden Proctor there. I like Spencer Fano, like you said. One that we're gonna kind of fall a little bit here, and I know you're kind of saying top 3, but I'm putting this out there because it is your new love, is Jennings Dunker out of Iowa.
Oh, my guy.
He is. I mean, when you think of an offensive lineman, just what do they call him, a hog molly or a slob knocker, it is this guy. He's got the long, nasty hair, and he goes out there and grinds. We saw him live and in the flesh in Mobile, Alabama at the Pro Bowl. And I mean, it was love at first sight for Allie. And it was just, she's like, that is our guy. He is out there just headbutting people without a helmet. And you want him on the team. And so he may not be a first rounder. If he falls to the second round at pick 39, I think it is, he's someone that I am definitely keeping on my radar.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you brought him up. I am all in on this guy. all in. Now, not with your first 2 picks.
Yeah.
If he's there, in the second round, we're talking value. I am all in. I love this guy. And he looks the part. He's just nasty. And he's got the hair and he's gross. He's from Iowa. And his name's Jennings Dunker. Come on. What are we doing?
All right. So speaking of this, because we're talking about the top of the draft, and obviously we could pull down, we could be picking up guys in the 4th through the 7th. We know that, right? From the offensive line and guys like that. I want you guys to keep an eye on this guy, and we can talk about this for next show. And I'm a little bit of a homer. This is a homer pick, but he is going to go in this part. But Cage Casey, the offensive tackle out of Boise State, he is 6'5", 310 pounds. But he is a hell of a player. He's a lot of the reason that Ashton Jeanty did what Ashton Jeanty did is because of Cage Casey. So I just would like to get your guys, just look at some of the tape on him. But I think that's a guy. What's that?
The sweet name, Cage.
Yeah, Cage Casey, right? But and he's from a small town in Oregon called Happy Valley. So how can you not like a guy like that? But he's a big man. He's a lot of the reason because of what he did. Ashton Jeanty did at Boise State. He was a big part of that. So
I've got his NFL pre-combine scouting report here. This is from Lanzerline. Well respected, obviously.
Right.
Strengths: proportional, well-built frame with good lean mass, firm on contact, turns his legs to generate movement, adequate lateral quickness to reach and secure, brings a block finishing mentality to the field, identifies pre-snap movement creeping into the box, just to name a few. And then his weaknesses he lists here: below average length, allows defenders into his frame first. So right away you think guard, right? Which totally fine. We need that too.
Yep,
Struggles
exactly.
lacks rhythm and timing when hitting the second block on combos, has a tendency to rush past slides and tempt over sets. So, listen, I'm not going to sit here and act like I know a ton about Cage Casey right here, right now, but I'll add him to the list because I like the name. He's got the look, and we need all the help we can get, right?
Yeah, so, and he helped a guy, rush for like 2,000 yards in college football. So
that's part of this exercise, right, guys? So, sure, we've got our top couple at the position, but if there's a guy that you are just get a load of this guy, for me, it's Jennings Dunker. Obviously, you, Cage Casey, David, I think you probably are with me a little bit with Jennings Dunker just because we saw him up close and personal. But do you have anybody else, David, that you'd like to highlight here?
No, I not off the top of my head, not really beyond Jennings Dunker, because it was hard not to just become infatuated with him, seeing him live, and just the excitement behind it.
Yeah. I do just want to highlight, I think both Utah guys are interesting. Spencer Fano, Caleb Lomu. I like them both. I like probably later value on both of them, actually. I think CeCe Maui Noah, he's, in my opinion, if he's there, you run to the draft board and to the podium and you take him. But I think, like I said, there's some value in this draft. So we'll get into some of these guys later, post-combine. Obviously, right now it's hard to talk about people that you don't know a ton about. But let's turn it over to the receivers. I think this is a pretty heavy receiving draft class. Angel mentioned it earlier in the comments. I think some of these guys we can get in the second and third round. That's totally fine. I just want to go through our top guys. Dustin, I'll start with you. Who's your number one receiver in this class?
Go to David. I'm pulling up my list, but go ahead. Go to David.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carnell Tate. We love him. We're a little bit of a homer there, but he has some of the the most amazing hands that you could imagine in terms of just getting the ball, catching it, and possessing it. And if there's anything the Browns need right now, it is a possession wide receiver, someone who can just go up, stick the ball, and come down with it, and actually get the yards necessary. And he can do that too. He can get it after the catch. He can get some top end speed too. And he's not small either. I believe he's I think he's 6'3", and he has the makings of being a wide receiver one, of an X receiver.
Really?
And so, I think far and away, to me, he is number one. I know there's a lot of talk about Jordan Tyson there as well, and just kind of the competition between the two. But Carnell Tate emerged this year, kind of filling the role of Emeka Ibuka, but then also kind of developing his own role within Ohio State's offense that I think complemented Jeremiah Smith so well. And if it weren't for Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate would have had 1,500 yards this year, and just he got injured too, so that's part of it. But he he is just another one of these great prospects coming out of Ohio State that I think can really, really produce and immediately elevate a team that he joins, just like we saw Emeka Ibuka do for half of the season and like what JSN has been doing for the last 3 years.
Yeah. And we were just talking about this last night, David. Possession receiver, that's not something that the Browns have had in a long time. I mean, since obviously like Jarvis Landry, right? Somebody that they can just get on short yardage situations or, 4th and 2. You're looking for that guy. I love Carnell for that reason. He's got the hands, and that's what I'm craving so bad in a Browns receiver. Somebody that can catch the ball, right? That has been such a problem for this team for so long. I love Carnell Tate. He's my number one guy. You mentioned all the reasons. Somebody that I have like 1A, 1B, I love Makai Lemon. I am starting to become infatuated with this guy. He's a little shorter, 5'11". I mean, literally just like one singular inch shorter. But he's 5'11". His comp, we talked about it, David, like somebody like Amon-Ra, right? Somebody that maybe they're not the fastest guy in the world, but they are going to create separation. They are going to high point the football. They are going to catch the ball, most importantly. And I think Makai Lemon does a lot of those things. He's efficient. He can manipulate defenders. He's just got like ridiculous strength. So I really like him. They're kind of my 1A, 1B. I would really be happy either way. But I mean, to Angel's point, you can get some of these guys in the second round that can do a lot of the same thing. So if you're going all in on CC Mauigoa and then you're getting, Denzel Boston later on, sure, I'm cool with that. Dustin, who's your guy?
Yeah, so I've done some research on some of the guys. Jordan Tyson's pretty interesting guy, 6'2". So Larry, who's watching, gets happy about that because he's 6+ feet. But his run after catch ability, I think he might be the highest in the draft for run after catch yards. If I did my research right on this, but 6'2", superior body control. But I like him. But Carnell Tate, a lot of people are obviously that are Browns fans see Ohio State's all guys all day long. But Jordan Tyson, for me, I like him. And by the way, his brother just happens to play basketball for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, I get the brothers hanging out here in Cleveland. But Jordan Tyson at 6'2", 200, probably adds a little more muscle to that 210 probably when it all is said and done. So, 6'2", 210 receiver, that's a pretty good sized guy for the Browns.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. Go ahead, David. What were you going to say?
Well, I was what you said was one of my. I'm just kind of thinking about today. It's a draft strategy that I would like to see the Browns approach is getting Denzel Boston at 24. I love this guy, and I think that he's going to have a great career. He's 6'4". He had a great college career, and we saw him last year with the Ohio State playing in Washington. And I think one, I love the name. I mean, obviously Denzel, and then you add in Boston, throwback to David Boston way back in the 90s. But two, he's got it. I think he's kind of like, you can kind of compare him to Tet a little bit, where he's got this great height, this great length, and that he can be another number one wide receiver in an X. And I know that there is value and depth in this, but if you can get CC at 6 and then Denzel Boston falls to you at 24, I think that is a dream first round, and I would be all over that.
I agree. He's 6'4". He is 6'4". That's cool. That's different than what we have.
Yeah, and here's another guy, Ali. I'm curious to see if you can see what his height is, but talking about finding value in the draft. But another guy I was doing some research on as well, Chris Brazel out of Tennessee, a tall, athletic target on the perimeter. I don't know what his height is, but I just remember watching some of those Tennessee games and what he was able to do. But I don't know how tall he is, but he's a big athletic target for Tennessee.
What do you guys think about Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M? I kind of go back and forth on him. I like some of these other guys a little bit more. He's on my list. I still like them. I like him. He's 5'11", 190. I mean, he's got the speed, right? He's going to have great acceleration. First 15 yards of the route, just kind of going through his scouting report from Zerline. He's got great vision, hard to square and wrap up on. So he's kind of that shifty, dynamic type of player. But, his weaknesses are, higher drop total. And that kind of scares me a little bit. And maybe he's not that different than the different types of receivers that the Browns have had in the past. So, and I agree with this. I mean, he can do all of the things, but I just have him a little bit lower than some of these other guys just because of elite traits, if you will. What do you guys think?
I agree with you. I just don't think it's what the Browns need right now. I think they have that already with Isaiah Bond. I think they're very similar receivers. They're short, they're speedy, and I'm with you. Like we talked about this during the season, kind of up and down, back and forth on him. But at the end of the day, like I think he doesn't fill the need as much as maybe some of these other guys we're talking about, and so I would not. He wouldn't be as high on my target list for the Browns.
David, real quick, we've got your question here. Sneed's Ferry. It's been a minute. That's cool. We don't get to see a lot of our Sneed's Ferry friends in the comments.
I was just gonna add he's 6'5", out of Tennessee. So
yeah,
that's a big guy. Like 6'5". I mean, you can separate from cornerbacks and go up and get the jump ball. Which, by the way, I mean, if Shedeur Sanders ends up being our wide receiver, our quarterback, like there's going to be some jump balls and some situations like that. I mean, where some of these guys go up and get that.
Any other guys? So let's do just some maybe best player available, because obviously we've got a couple of guys that if they're sitting there at 6, right, and maybe CeCe Maligo is gone, or if the Browns are all in on like Carnell Tate and he's gone, is there somebody that you're like, listen, if they're there, even though this isn't a huge position of need, you have to do this? David, I'll start with you.
I like this.
I mean, the answer, if he's available, Caleb Downs, you take him. I know that you and I have a lot of the same answers because we talk about this every single day. But for me, like he's a coach on the field. He is a leader out there. We saw him for 2 seasons just absolutely run the show for Ohio State's defensive backfield, and he, I think, would be such a weapon in this defense and what they're planning to do, and just kind of play that every down, different position, different level of defense, like always keeping you guessing, like Kyle Hamilton sort of position. Yeah. And that is a person who can absolutely turn around a defense and single-handedly, as a single player, really elevate you. And you cannot pass up on him if he is there and these other guys at positions of need aren't.
And this comment here, I mean, we know he kind of fits that nickel corner role, if you will. Obviously, he's hyper athletic and he can do so many different things. Obviously, he's a safety and that's what he does best. But like you can really use him in so many different ways. I've got a couple that I'm just going to throw out right now. One of them is obviously Caleb. If he's there, my God, he is just so dynamic. I've got 2, and I don't think either of them would be there. I think they're going to go sooner. But one being Arvell Reese. Can you even imagine, right? Can you even picture this defense with Arvell Reese? My God. If they can figure out how to use him, that is the caveat, because he plays a very unique position. And the other one is somebody we saw in Mobile, David, and that's Ruben Bain. He is just completely disruptive on the defensive line. And not a huge area of need. You feel fairly comfortable with this defensive line as it's currently constructed. We know that there's other holes on this roster. I understand. But if he's there, it really makes you scratch your head. He is just so physical, just wrecks games. He's nasty. So those are my guys. What do you got, Dustin?
Well, I think you bring up a good point. Caleb Downs, like if he's there, like, and I know our defense is our strength, but you add a guy like Caleb Downs to that defense, holy shit. Like that's crazy. Like that's going to be a tough defense. You're going to have some youth on that side along with a few guys that have been there a while. Like I'd go Caleb Downs. Like that, just if he falls to you. Now, here's the thing. He may fall and then the phone rings. And then if you're the Browns, like that's going to be a very interesting. I mean, I got to tell you, this draft, I'm excited for the first time with the Browns having 6 and 24 and then the top of the second. Man, the Browns could get it right pretty quick if they hit on half of these draft picks, because there's some quality guys that could be starters in the National Football League.
Yeah, definitely. All right, real quick. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say one other that I think we should consider if these other guys are gone is Sonny Styles, just because like we talked about, we don't have JOK anymore. We're likely not going to. And so filling in at another like linebacker role, especially if, Devin Bush doesn't get re-signed, I think is something to really consider, because a lot of people talked about how underrated he was throughout the season, that he truly was the best linebacker in college football.
That's a good point. And if that situation plays out where maybe they do trade back a couple of spots and somebody like Sonny's there, certainly you have to consider that. Real quick, want to tell you about our good friends over at City Barbecue, guys. If you're looking for what you should do for lunch or dinner, head on over to Stadium Mustard. That's next. So spoiler alert, almost combined 2 ad reads there. City Barbecue, head on over to City Barbecue. They do it right. They've got award-winning sauces, sides, meats. They'll get you covered. They can cater your event. So please be sure to check out our friends over at City Barbecue. And guess who's next? It's Stadium Mustard. If you don't have Stadium Mustard in your kitchen this season, you are doing it wrong. The iconic brand, the iconic taste, beloved from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between. Stadium Mustard is a smooth brown mustard rich in both taste and tradition. By the way, it is loved by millions, so be sure to head on over to stadiummustard.com to shop now.
And I was just going to say brownies. Code brownies. 20% off your entire order if you use brownies. That's our new code. We're excited about it. 20% off using the code brownies at stadiummustard.com.
All right, there you go. And if you're looking for some really cool Cleveland apparel, you can check them out at Weebly, Ohio. You can get your official Here We Go Brownies podcast hat, t-shirt, sweatshirt. They do it right, so please be sure to check them out. Before we wrap up, we are going to go rapid fire because we've got 5 minutes. Just a quick game of some fact or fiction NFL Draft Edition. I want to do this probably next week. We'll be able to expand upon this, but just real quick. Let's just get into it because why not? And I'll kind of alternate with you guys. Let me pull it up here. David, I'll start with you. Fact or fiction? 2 quarterbacks go in the first round.
Exactly 2. I'm gonna say fiction. I think 3 are gonna go. I think more than 2 are gonna go. I think we're gonna see 3. I think Garrett Nussmeier is gonna sneak up there, and somebody's gonna steal him at the end of the first round.
Wow, spicy. Maybe. I don't know. What do you think, Dustin? Fact or fiction?
Fiction. I think this is a very weak quarterback class, and there's a lot of other needs that teams have. Day 2, though, quarterbacks come flying off the board. Fiction.
I'm going to say fact. It's Fernando Mendoza, and it is Ty Simpson. Those are your 2 first-round picks. Nussmeier, not sure. All right, Dustin, I will start with you on this one. Jeremiah Love is a top 5 pick.
I'm going to go fact based on previous. Also, the running back is back in vogue in the National Football League, and with Ashton Genty going in the what was he? Did he go at 5 last year? Was it 4? 4.
Like that,
4.
Yeah.
Because we had the 4th pick. So I think he does because of who he is, his versatility. Yes, fact.
David.
Fact.
Yeah, fact. I think he's going 3 overall. I think he's going to Arizona actually. All right. David, I'll start with you. For the first time since 2010, a safety will be taken in the first 5 picks.
Fact. It's happening. Both of those are facts.
Yeah?
Caleb's going top 5. There's no way he isn't.
I think I agree. I'm going to go fact. I think he's a top 5 pick, unless there's a run on tackles or something like crazy like that or whatever. But yes. Dustin, what do you say?
Fiction. He slides to the Cleveland Browns, and the Browns have a very huge decision to make.
I love it. Man, wouldn't that be great if you're just stuck between like 3 elite players? Wouldn't that just be such a dream and something that we haven't really had the luxury of in the past, since we've been doing this podcast? All right. A couple more here. Dustin, I'll start with you. Fact or fiction? The Browns will stay at 6.
Fiction. Andrew Berry's door is wide open and always ready to wheel and deal. I think the Cowboys and some other teams that we've had a history of trading with are ready to wheel and deal.
David.
Well, in fact, they're sticking with 6. I think they had a really good draft last year, and I think they want to add to it with some top-end talent, and they're going to stick at 6.
I'm going to say fact for now, right? Obviously, once the combine's done and over with, we've got a better understanding of these guys. That could change, but I think maybe they're number 26? Is that where they're picking the back end? 24. That one I think be maybe you can move up or you can move down, but right now I'm gonna say fact, and we will wrap with this one. Dustin, fact or fiction? The Browns drafted quarterback at any point during this draft.
Do the Browns draft a quarterback? Ooh, that's probably the sauciest question of the night. Do they draft a quarterback? Fiction. They get one in free agency.
All right. Fair enough. David?
Fiction. They took 2 last year. They're not going to do it this year.
Yep. I'm going to say fact. I think they might. It's like somebody like Drew Aller that's there and round 5 or 6. I don't know that he will be, but Cleveland kid, maybe it's a good story, and he just had a very unfortunate injury. I don't particularly love him, but I'm just saying, like, I could see a world where that happens. And as they're trying to navigate this new offense, maybe Todd Monken really likes the guy, but I think it's kind of a bit of a stretch to say fact, but I'm just going to do it. Guys, any closing thoughts as we wrap up on a beautiful Wednesday evening?
Yeah, go watch the Cavs, right? They're still playing. They're playing the Bucks. By the way, a lot of guys are out tonight. There was a lot of late scratches for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Are they winning, Allie? Are they winning?
They have not tipped off yet.
It's tipping off right now.
Yeah, right now.
Oh, because they're Central Time. They're Central Time. That's right.
All right. But that's going to do it, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. Stay safe, stay healthy. And as always, Browns fans, go Browns.
Go Browns.
SOS.